All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into a pretty big one, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, a classic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And, you sent over chapter 8. It really got me thinking, like, this whole idea of decision-making being so key to success.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the core message there? Why has Hill put so much emphasis on decision-making, compared to all the other stuff he talks about?
Well, I think what's really interesting is how Hill frames decision. It's not just some mental process, happening in your head.
Right.
He links it directly to action, to actually getting things done, to ultimately reaching those goals you're working towards. It's about taking that thought and turning it into something real.
Okay, I see that, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there are tons of books out there on goal setting, productivity, the whole self-improvement thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What makes Hill's take on decision-making, like, different or special?
He doesn't just say, hey, go decide things and leave it at that. He digs into the why. Hill studied a ton of successful people, but also those who weren't so successful.
Okay.
And what he found was a lack of decisiveness was a huge factor holding people back.
Interesting.
They'd hesitate, overthink, or, let others sway them.
So indecision's like a hidden obstacle.
Exactly.
We might not even realize it's tripping us up.
Think about it. Everything you achieve, big or small, starts with a decision, right?
Yeah.
Choosing to learn a skill, to, invest in something, even just deciding to get out of bed on time.
Right.
Those all set things in motion.
But then I guess the flip side is that every time we don't make a decision, we're kind of letting circumstances decide for us.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Giving up a bit of control.
Hill uses this really interesting historical analogy to show this, and it might seem like a bit of a jump, but he talks about the birth of the United States. Now, you might think, well, what's that got to do with decision-making? But bear with me.
Right.
He argues that the American Revolution wasn't just about these grand ideas.
Yeah.
It was this chain reaction of decisions, often really risky ones.
So it wasn't just like a bunch of guys signing a document one day and that's it.
Right. There was way more going on behind the scenes.
I mean, I'm sure there was, but
Hill starts by taking us back to the Boston Massacre. Seems like a small event looking back, right?
yeah, in the grand scheme of things.
But the outrage it caused, it forced these colonists, guys like John Hancock, Samuel Adams, they had to make a choice.
Stay silent, or
Or fight back. And luckily for us, they chose to fight.
they put everything on the line, for what they believed in.
And that makes you think, how many pivotal moments in history hinge on these individual choices?
Yeah, that's a good point.
From there, Hill traces this whole chain of decisive action, committees of correspondence, the Continental Congress. Every step, people coming together, planning, making concrete decisions that ultimately led to the Declaration of Independence.
So these seemingly small choices, they, like, snowballed into something huge.
Exactly.
It wasn't just having a vision for a new nation. It was those decisions they made that made it real.
Right. And Hill's point is that same power is available to all of us. It's not like some magical ability for revolutionaries only.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's rooted in these principles: desire, faith, persistence, organized planning. It's all part of his whole philosophy of success, really.
So it's not about waiting for something outside of us to change our lives.
Yep. Nope.
It's using our own decision-making power to shape our destiny.
Exactly.
I like that. So then how does this all apply to someone listening right now? Most of us aren't, leading revolutions or anything.
That's a great question. And it leads to a crucial point Hill makes. He says this habit of indecision, that constant second guessing, it's often learned.
Learned. Wait, so it's not just like a personality trait.
Not necessarily. Think back to your own education, right?
Yeah.
Were you ever truly encouraged to make a firm decision about your future, what you really wanted? Most systems, they focus on teaching you what to think, but not how to make those big life choices.
Wow. I never thought about it that way, but yeah.
And this lack of early decision-making training, it can have consequences down the road.
Makes sense. Like, we're not equipped for it, almost.
It can make us less confident, more prone to doubt, ultimately less likely to reach our full potential.
So then how do we break free from this? How do we tap into that decision-making power that Hill talks about?
Well, that's where things get really interesting, because Hill actually provides a framework, a set of steps we can use to become more decisive and take control.
A framework. So it's not just like willpower. or
Yeah.
trying to be more assertive?
Not quite. This is where Hill goes beyond inspiration and gets into practical strategies.
Okay.
One key concept is what he calls the six ghosts of fear.
Six ghosts of fear. That sounds kind of
Uh,
spooky. Uh-huh.
right. But these are the mental roadblocks that often, paralyze us when we need to decide something.
Interesting. So what are they, these ghosts?
He lists them as fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. And he argues that these fears, often we're not even aware of them.
Subconscious.
Exactly. They hold us back from taking risks, from going after our dreams, from making those big decisions that could really change things.
I can see that. But how do we, like, overcome those fears? It's not like we can just snap our fingers and poof, they're gone.
True, true. But Hill gives us tools. He emphasizes understanding those fears, confronting them head on, and then replacing them with positive stuff, affirmations, beliefs.
So it's about shifting our mindset, changing how we think about risk and failure. But how does that actually work in, like, a real life situation? Say someone's stuck in a job they hate, but they're terrified to